Welcome to Charlotte Conversations. I'm Pastor Barrett Berry of the Elm Church. We're excited to have you join us here today. This is our hybrid of a Sunday school. It's our hybrid of a podcast. It's our hybrid of a conversation that we have with each other. Each other meaning everybody can chime in on this conversation. Today we're going to continue in our part two of what are men talking about? Man cave. I finally got to go to the barber this week. Got to go to the barber because I've been growing my hair because I couldn't get an appointment. And I was able now to chime in and have a conversation with the fellas for the very first time. I still let my hair grow on the top because I told him, look, you messing up because I can't get an appointment. But now I got an appointment next week, so we're gonna cut it off next week. But anyway, I was able to have a more conversation with the fellas about what men are talking about today. You know, social media, there's all these different conversations about what men are supposed to be, how they're supposed to live. I'm a member of the 100 Black Men been so for a couple of decades, and we're a bunch of men. And so we kind of have a feeling what men should be about a little bit, right? Just a little bit. I'm in a fraternity, so we have, some men in fraternities too, But so men have some thoughts that we don't even get to share publicly because the retribution is hard sometimes. Sometimes the feedback we get is difficult because it's not what people think we should be saying, but it is actually what men are saying. So I thought to do service to the body of Christ, that we have a conversation, an open conversation, and today I'm gonna put myself in a position to respond transparently and fearlessly because my Father's watching me. And just to lay out the truth as best I know it to be. Okay, is that all right? So let's go. Introduce yourself. Who are you?
My name is Shanera Butler. I am from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I've been in Charlotte about 3 years. Currently a recruiter for children on the autism spectrum, or a recruiter for behavior technicians who work with children on the autism spectrum.
Okay. All right. Well, you can recruit some kids too, I guess. I don't know.
Absolutely.
All right. Very good. So you're not a relationship expert. You're just
At
a
all.
sister who is courageous enough to fill that seat, and we thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So you represent all 15 million Black women in America. I'm just playing.
I got
us. Good job. So we're gonna open up for questions towards the end. So feel free to get your questions ready, ladies and guys. Matter of fact, I may turn to a couple of guys and ask them for their feedback on some of the things that are shared today. So what are some of the things? I was in the man cave, I was in the barber shop, and I heard what the fellow was talking about. But what's some of the things that are on the hearts and minds of women?
I think kind of piggybacking off of what you said about sometimes men not being as comfortable sharing, I think what I would say is there's a lot on the hearts and minds of women. And a big, I think, question is, what do men think? And I think the follow-up to that is asking what makes a man feel safe enough to kind of share his thoughts with women.
That's a good question. So we here at the Elm try to create a safe space. And so we reassure people continuously that however you're living your lifestyle, whatever's going on with you personally, individually, this is a safe place to be who you want to be. Because Jesus is the shaper and former of who we are. We are not in a position to judge. This is a judgeless place in our environment, a safe space. Men don't feel that it's a safe space all the time, that you can speak your mind freely without the abuse, right? Because we aren't tied to our emotions as much. We've been taught socially to be men don't cry. Men don't express emotions. Men don't do all these very things. And so we haven't had the opportunity to even practice it, let alone to express it. So the few times that we have tried, it's been like, you're never right. If you've ever been married before, one thing you will learn within the first 2 minutes is that you're not right. So you have to negotiate to understand how I can live without being right continuously, but still express myself. And I think it has to come with communication. It really breaks down to communication. Communication. we are not always going to agree, but this is my truth. And so you have to ask for the grace from the lady or ladies to give us this grace to express ourselves. We need a safe space to express ourselves without the fear or the concern of being attacked.
Okay.
Give us a safe space. And don't hold it against us. I mean, be Christ-like. That's be Christ-like. Go ahead. What else? What else you have?
Okay. I think another thing that women often wonder is what makes a man want to transition from the dating stage to making it official in terms of a relationship, a title.
That's a good question. I think not every man's the same, but I think speak for the majority. What I observed in my friends, you get to a place where you realize that getting to success and what you're trying to achieve, that dating takes away from the time that you can utilize to benefit to achieve your goals. Dating is expensive. That's one. Two, it takes a lot of time. That's two. Three, it's not as safe to play as it once was. I don't know when it was ever safe to play, but in my lifetime it hasn't been safe to play. So there's that danger. And when you really come to a place that, I hate for people to say this, my best friend said this to me when I was courting somebody. He says, and people don't like this word. They don't like this word. But he's very successful. He was the smartest guy in college, Phi Beta Sigma. He's the smartest guy that I know. He said, at one point, brother, you're going to have to settle. And settle to most people is a bad word. But he was saying is that you can continue to date forever. You can. And at some point, you've dated your wife. But at some point, you had to get off the wheel and just settle. She's here. And settling's not a bad thing, because what it is, you're choosing. And a lot of times people confuse settling for taking a step back. I'm not getting the best. No, actually what you're doing is you're choosing. And we have to get to a place of maturity where we say, I'm going to choose. Men have to get to a place where they decide to choose so they can advance themselves. I share with men all the time and young guys all the time, name me a wealthy businessman, entrepreneur, wealthy businessman that is single. Not one that signed his contract. He was broke the day before, signed a contract, now he bounces basketball. Not that type of brother. Name a brother, or even anybody, any man, who is wealthy or successful in their own right that's single. And it's hard to find somebody who is single and successful. And so when they start putting into perspective that it's a benefit to have a mate, then that's when they decide to slow down and make a selection, and they choose. They settle on the one who's going to advance them. Men have to see an advantage in being in a relationship. Without seeing an advantage, if you can't add to me, then men don't see a reason to slow down. So you got to be able to add to them.
Yeah, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Speaking on the choosing portion, I know that this generation is like wifey material. That's kind of the term. What would you say are qualities for a woman? And this may be different for all men, but just generally speaking, what are qualities of someone that's wifey material?
Well, I'm going to tell you what the barbershop says, all right?
Okay, let's hear it.
This is what the barbershop says. Wife material is this, right? One, if you have kids, you have to have an understanding with the baby or baby's father. No man wants to deal with another man and his kids. They want a line in between. And nowadays it's difficult to find a mate who doesn't have a child. If you're in your 20s, possible, but when you get over 35, it becomes more challenging, right? Number two, you have to be able to add something. I was talking to a young lady today, and she was saying how this one guy courting another person, and I'm like, the problem a lot of us have, women have, is that you think that you're special. And I hate to tell y'all this. Y'all not that special. Because this guy can go to the next young lady who doesn't think much of herself, and go on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. What makes you special is when you decide, and he decides that you're special. Just by showing up doesn't make you special. And quite often, my young sisters think because they showed up, but they don't have to understand the player mentality. I understand the player mentality. So a player is going to make you think that you're special when he's going to have three other women, right? But you can't get caught up in that. So to separate yourself from the women who just show up is that what are you bringing, what separates you that makes you really special? Do you bring peace? One of the things men will say most often is, if I could just get peace. If I could just watch football for a couple hours, if I could just get peace, if I could just express myself and get peace, if I could just come home and just have peace. It's hard out here for black men. Black women too? Granted, yes. But yes, I think it's hard out here for people of color, period.
I'd agree.
Period. But black men have a certain different struggle because we're hunted. And you guys are chased. We're hunted. There's a difference between the two.
Absolutely.
And so being hunted all day, when you come home, you want to just be at peace. So that's two. And then another thing is respect. If you can't respect a man, if he doesn't have respect, you're losing. Men kill one another over the lack of respect. They back in the day, you step on somebody's shoe, that's a fight, right? When I went to the Million Man March for the first time, I stepped on somebody's shoe and there was no discussion. It was like, oh, what's up, brother? It's okay, brother. But before that could be an altercation. And it's just a matter of respect. And I think that quite often, women don't interact with men on a regular basis to understand, to appreciate how much respect means to another man, right? Also, this is a side bit. Arguing with a man, with a woman argues with a man, I think they understand that a man's not going to hit them. But even in that arguing with a man, some men haven't come to a place to appreciate that form of, that's a disrespect to them. Mm-hmm. And women do it not understanding how that's disrespectful. And so men struggle with, how do I manage this interaction? And so you lose them with the arguing. They'll sit there and be quiet, or they'll argue back with you. That's not necessarily a good sign. But they'll sit there and be quiet just so they wouldn't have the back and forth, because we're not accustomed to appreciating the disrespect. So if a woman could just respect a man, there's a book out that we do a sermon series on men want respect, women want love, something like that type of book. Okay. And there's that separation that we have to really. If a man argues with another man, the likelihood that it may escalate to something physical is there. So men are socialized as, I'm not going to argue with you because it escalates. So men will find a way to either it's going to escalate or we're going to shake hands and move on with it. When you're with a woman, it can't escalate. Right. So what he does is, since I can't escalate it to mean physical, then I just disconnect. I may come home next day, but I've already disconnected because you disrespected me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. That makes sense. It's like a shutdown because it's no longer a safe space, I would assume.
It's not a safe space.
Okay.
And it doesn't, I was with I always digress, but never mind, don't.
Okay. You mentioned a little earlier regarding having a understanding with a woman and her children's father if she's into a relationship. And then you mentioned about the rarity of finding someone over 30 without children. I've seen like posts, and you know how social media is, but I've seen things saying that if a woman is over 30 and doesn't have children, then something is quote unquote wrong with her. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
No, you know, I have I worked in D.C., and in D.C., a lot of the sisters and people in general in D.C. are highly educated. And it appears that a lot of my friends that are women who are highly educated stay single the longest, right? They've been focused on their education, they've been focused on their careers, and they've been focused on, I'm not having kids until, right? And then they find themselves in their 30s, now some in their 40s, and they more so in their 50s without a mate. And I think you have to be able to be in a position to appreciate. I saw that on social media. I think you have to be able to appreciate what they achieved. And quite often, unfortunately, in our community, there are more women who get educated than men, by far, not even close. And I think that we're at a crossroad right now in appreciating what we have to choose from. I think we're at a crossroad, and what it means that what one has to have to be chosen or selected, and there is not a problem with a woman who's educated, who's in her profession, who's over 30 without kids. That actually is a positive, but I think that quite often, unfortunately, when we socialize between men and women, the women who are this over 30 educated in their profession don't have as many guys to choose from who are similar status. And so they continuously are interacting with guys who don't appreciate their level of success because these guys don't have it. And the problem with that is we don't have enough guys who have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So now the problem with that comes with, now we have to work on being able to find comfort in choosing maybe a guy who doesn't have those same qualities, which is a big step for sisters to do, because then you think that you're settling, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you got to deal with guys who have egos, who feel as though I'm not up to the standard to date this woman because I don't have that same level of what society sees as success.
Right. And typically with education comes higher salary, so kind of pivoting onto that same point, generally speaking, what have you heard in terms of men that are in relationships with women that make more money than them? Now, how do they feel about that?
That's good. Men don't like it. Generally speaking, men don't like it. It's just the reality. But now, this is where I think black people, forget all the other people, but black people got to deal with this because it's different for us. We have to come to an appreciation that the American dream that's been outlined for us was never really meant for us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And to achieve certain things, it takes a two-parent household, two parents with two incomes, with only two kids and maybe one dog to reach that so-called American dream. We don't get married like that at this rate right now. Matter of fact, we divorce at a little bit higher than everybody else. We get married later than everybody else. Our whole relationship makeup is different than any other ethnicity in America. And so we need to adjust how we view relationships, not from the lens of America, but the lens of the reality of being black in America. And we haven't done that quite yet. That's why social media is going off on all these different tangents, because they haven't adjusted to the fact, the reality of what we're dealing with as black people. We're in crisis right now. And so I think what I'm hearing from guys, you guys actually want a woman who is successful financially. It's just that they haven't, I hate to say mature, they haven't gone to a place that they can accept how the relationship plays out. Like, they feel as though women then have a domineering effect over them. And no man wants to be dominated by his lady when we're taught that we are to lead. And so there has to be a shift to take place. It's not happening at a fast enough rate because, you know, when I went to undergrad, there was Spelman over there with over 3,000 women. You had Morehouse over here with a few less. You had Clark Atlanta, who was probably 10-1, and Morris Brown probably was the same. So reality numbers wise is like we have to shift in how we view our mates. And we can't let society dictate to us who our mate should look like. Because reality is, if a black woman is going to get married today, chances are she's not going to marry a man who is making more than her. That's how it's trending. It's not there yet, but that's how it's trending.
Yeah.
Today, still statistics say that black men make more money than black women, and white men make 30% more than black women. So it's still, that disparity is still there. But the reality of it is, I was talking to a pastor in New York, and he was talking about who the lawyers in his congregation. I went to law school too, and the lawyers in his congregation, the women work in corporations. They go to the office buildings and they go to work as lawyers like that. The guys hang their shingles and they work out of their own law office. So there's even a disparity in how that's a disparity in income, because if you're at the corporate office, you have a set salary. Right. If you hang your shingle, you have your hustle. And so I think that we as a people have to appreciate the differences we have socioeconomically as well, and what that means as far as who we select or how we select our mate.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. One other thing that I kind of want to ask about is, like, what are considered red flags? Like, I've heard also that if a woman has a large number of male friends or hangs around guys a lot, then that's a red flag. What have you heard about like that?
I think red flags are red flags.
Okay.
And that is a red flag. But at the same time, red flags don't mean it's over. And I think we've come to misconstrue what a red flag means. There's plethora of red flags. She stays out late. She has a bunch of male friends. Her Instagram posting is crazy. And she has an OnlyFans page. But all that stuff is more common. But all that stuff, but not outside the OnlyFans page. But red flags should be addressed, and we have to use the red flags as a point of communication. We need to use red flags to talk about them, because we're all learning in the process, and quite often we don't take the time to communicate, to express, to deal with those red flags. If there's something that is a red flag that the person is doing, more than likely, majority of them can be addressed and can be adjusted or fixed. But we look at the red flag and like, oh no, I can't. My last boyfriend or my last girlfriend, you know what I'm saying? We use that as, I can't do that again. I'm never gonna do that again. I'm not gonna marry a woman with 4 kids. And not realizing that every individual situation is different. And these red flags can be adjusted or discussed and worked out. And if they can't, then the red flag is actually a nail in the coffin and you let it go.
Okay. On the tip of like social media and OnlyFans pages and things of that sort, typically the women that are idolized are artificial or have had enhancements, I'll say. So I've heard, generally speaking, men say that they want something real, something natural, no weave, no makeup, but then again are idolizing the women that they see on social media with those things. What are your thoughts on that?
There's 2 types of women. There's women that you go out with and date, you chase, you pursue, you conquer. There's women you marry. And I think quite often my sisters confuse having someone attracted to you is somebody they don't want to marry you. They want to date you. And so I'm using date as a very church word.
I understand. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
That's the church word. That's the church word. Date's the church word. So they want to date you. So we have to come to understand there's two types of women. And in the barbershop, you'll find out that men aren't crazy about your lace. They're not crazy about. They talk about you with your eyelashes. They talk about you with your eyelashes. They talk about you with your eyelashes. They talk about the eyelashes.
What do they do?
They talk about the eyelashes. I mean, please, y'all, caterpillars. When has a caterpillar been attractive? So, and unfortunately, my sisters, not every wig is a good wig. And somebody needs to. Some people need some good friends to tell them, little sister, that wig ain't working. That ain't popping. You know. So, and just because it's lace don't mean it's right. And so Beyonce got us confused. And she went and got the lace front, and everybody got the lace front. But that's not, guys, he will date that. He will date the BBL all day long. He'll chase after the BBL all day long. But she ain't gonna have his baby. So that's, in a marriage, she may have his baby, but he ain't gonna marry her.
Okay.
And so I think guys, at the end of the day, a guy is going to marry. We're very visual. This is not absolute. This is not 100%. This may be 56% of guys, right? But the majority are going to date somebody who they see will be a good mother to their child in a marriage, not as a baby daddy. And in that day, it is not the sister who, I was going to do a comedy show. I met this young lady who's a nurse, and she didn't mind talking about it because I talk about it all the time. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. She's a nurse, and she had her scrubs on. She looked very professional. It was wonderful. She's a comedian. Then I found out later that she was a comedian. I didn't know she was a comedian at the time. I said, oh, we want to do a comedy show here. We want to do a comedy show at the church, but it has to be clean at least. If it's not Christian, cool, we can do that. And then, down the road, we start planning to do one. And she started blowing up as a comedian a little bit, and then she sent me her OnlyFans page link. First of all, I was like, wow, what do you think I'm going to do with this OnlyFans page? Number one. Number two, she felt so comfortable in sending it because it's become so common. It's become so common to be ratchet. And because commonality of being ratchet has become so common that we confuse being ratchet as being attractive, and it's not attractive to be ratchet in somebody's wife, because you have to raise my kids. And so that's the difference we have out there. I think quite often women I told somebody today, drink some water. I told her, drink some water.
Was she thirsty?
She was thirsty.
Okay.
Slow down. Stop being so thirsty. Drink some water. And quite often, I think because we haven't had our fathers. I mean, you can walk at a point. I'm at a point in my life now. Okay, hindsight. Let me tell you a little bit about my background. I was a high school basketball player who went to college, who wrecked a car, who needed to raise some money to get a new car, who threw a party at 19 and 900 people came. Found out, oh, I'm actually popular. I didn't know I was popular because I was on the basketball courts. I didn't know I was popular. Then I started doing nightclubs. And so then I started, I was able to meet a lot of people and a lot of women. And so that being the case, I was a church kid though, so I didn't know what to do with them. So that being the case, I got to see that there's a plethora. There's a whole lot of women out there who haven't had a father. And it's so obvious at this point in my life now, I can interact with somebody for a short period of time and say, you weren't raised with your father. Because we make some decisions, that because no one's ever chastised us, no one's ever corrected us, no one's ever gave us another example. We always tell men to date their daughters, because if you date your daughter, then she will know how to be treated when she goes on a date. Don't let that other man show her what it is to be a lady, or a lack of being a lady. And quite often, these women, unfortunately, in the black community, 80% of kids born today were born in a single-parent household. They haven't had the opportunity to be taught by a father who loves them, who cherishes them, how to be a lady. And then they go through life not knowing, and they're exposing their weakness of not having a father who has chastised them, shaped them, formed them, or told them they were beautiful. If you get excited thank you. If you get excited when a man tells you that you're beautiful, if you get excited by that can be a problem when you're a young lady, which means that your daddy didn't tell you were beautiful. So don't get excited because this man didn't told you beautiful. Now, a person who can be a preying on person, because a lot of guys are preyers, they prey on women, they'll take advantage of that. And so I think I'll go back to, I think the original question was, what's the original question?
We were talking about society and how men idolize the material girl,
Yes.
and then you mentioned the OnlyFans that was sent to you.
Yes, yeah. Crazy, right? It's crazy, right? But they do it. So men want their moms to be their wives. That's what they want. With a little sexiness inside the house. The average man.
Okay.
Some men just don't, there's a small percentage of men who don't care. There's a small percentage of men who make babies. Only 35% of babies are made by, only 35% of men who are at least over 40 have kids, make kids. Most black men aren't making kids. It's just, if you go talk to a girl, in Charlotte, I was talking to some friends in this group that I'm in, and they all say they had to stop dating online because they're all dating the same man. There's a whole group of women dating the same dudes because for some reason they all are attracted to the same type of guy. And I think use that as to our sexual prowess, our sexual prowess, our sexual promiscuity, we come to find out that most times women are sleeping with the same guys, having babies by the same guys, because only 35% of black babies, are created by the same 35% men, 35% of men. So we have to come back and talk about this another time. So hey, we want to thank you for joining us here at the Charlotte Conversation. I hope I made some sense today. We as a black community, we are so, for being kidnapped and brought over here, we've come a long way. We've been very successful. No matter whatever everybody says about us as a people, we've done very well, and we continue to do very well. We continue to be very loving. We continue to, more. The society won't tell you this, but black men are taking care of their babies at the highest level that they've ever done before. More so than black men are more in their lives. More statistics say black men are more in kids' lives more than any other ethnicity in America. But that's not how it's painted. We love our kids. We love our women. We will defend our families like anybody else would defend their families, and even more so. And so we're not that far off from being successful as black people in America. We just have some things to get it right, to adjust it. That make sense?
Absolutely.
All right,
thank you.
Any final words you have to say? Go ahead. You say what you want to say.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I kind of just walked in and you presented an opportunity and I accepted it. So, and also thank you for your transparency in terms of what black men are thinking and your own personal experiences.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you again for joining us. This is Pastor Barrett. This is Charlotte Conversations. We have a conversation every Sunday at 11 o'clock about a topic that's relevant to our community. We want to see us grow holistically. Here at the end, we work to empower your family, your faith, your fellowship, and your finances. And so whatever we do is around that genre, that goal, that objective. And we show a movie at 12 noon. We're doing it for the rest of, at least for the month of September. We did it all summer, but at least for the month of September, because there is a strike in Hollywood. And so the movies coming out kind of suck. So anyway, so we're going to continue.
Not this one. This one's going to be good.
This is going to be a good movie today, but they did this a long time ago. So We're gonna try to figure out something for our movies because right now, yeah, it looks kind of sparse right now. So hope y'all like some Christian movies because we may put some Christian. About time we do some Christian movies. Somebody got on me before that we don't do enough Christian movies. Well, you're about to get a couple because there's nothing out there. All right, Alderman, we love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Come back and join us again every Sunday at 11 o'clock. This is Pastor Barrett saying, peace.